It's me again, which means we've got to do some maths together. Thank you very much for joining me. I can see there's 30 people here this morning, and they're all ready to learn some things about fractions. We did some fractions last week, so this is the bit on multiplying and dividing. So if you wanted to find out the first bit about adding and subtracting, go back, not now because you're with me right now, but go back before when I was here now to go to another time, but do it in the future. So you're going backwards in time to the future where you can go and watch the other video which I recorded before. Hopefully that's all made sense to everyone. So what we're going to do is today we're going to do a quick recap, and then we're going to move on to learning about multiplying fractions and dividing fractions, and I might even teach a little bit about cancelling in the middle there, and we'll look at the end for those super year 8s and 9s and maybe some of the year 6s and stuff who want to give it a go. I'm going to look at what if they're mixed fractions. So, I guess it's time to begin. I'm going to start here. So yesterday, we were looking at the Harry Potter thing. Thank you to those people who joined us for the Harry Potter adventure. I hope I'm not in the way of that screen. If you weren't, then go and look at the Harry Potter lesson. There's activity sheets and things to do. And hopefully lots of people had lots of fun. I couldn't be here obviously yesterday, so Harry did the lesson for me, and I've heard good things. No one sent me an email saying that it was a terrible lesson and they couldn't understand what he was saying, so I'm assuming you all enjoyed it. So here we go. A little warm-up. 3 questions on addition and subtraction from last week. If you can remember. If you can't remember, the key things to remember: you can only add fractions and take away fractions if they have the same denominator. In order to help them work together, you have to multiply the denominators by each other to get a new common denominator. So you're trying to find you can use the lowest common denominator as well, but a good method of doing it is, so for example in that middle one, making them both 12s. Get yourself writing down what you think the answer here is. I'm going to say a good hello to Alicia, Amber, Sharanya, Kyra, Lars, Chris Eaton, Willow, Louise Young, Annabelle Smythe. I don't know how many of these are parents and how many are... I know the reason I keep brushing over Aishwarya is because I know it's not Aishwarya. I know it's your daughter and I can't remember their name or son, and I do apologise. Good morning, Janine Norton. Good morning, Winnie Luck. Right. Hopefully that's given you time to have a go at these. And hopefully you've been intimidated into trying them. There's clearly a tiger on the screen to scare people into doing the questions. Because if you don't do the questions, then there's a tiger. So, these are your answers you should hopefully get. If you weren't able to get these, do go back and do the, not now, but go back and do the addition and subtraction lesson, because it will help you explain why they're the answers. Without further ado, let's move on and bring me back, because I'm here. We are going to look today at multiplying fractions. And multiplying fractions is the first thing basically you need to know is you do not need to make the denominators the same. That's the big difference, and I think I have to get into you first of all. Do not make the denominators the same. When multiplying and dividing, you do not need to have the same denominator. If you do all the denominator, you're making it harder for yourself, not easier. So how do you do it? Well, actually it's a bit easier than you might think. Unless you think it's easy, in which case it's exactly as easy as you think. Basically, let's head over to my screen of writing. And on my screen of writing, we're going to do a very straightforward question first off. We are going to start with black, and we can always get a different colour. Right, so we've got 3/4 multiplied by 5/7. When multiplying, all we're going to do is the top numbers multiplied together and the bottom numbers multiplied together. 3 5s are 15 and 4 7s are 28. That's all there is to it for multiplying. But sir, it looks too easy. It is. It's straightforward. It's the top numbers times together. But don't we have to make them the same? No. We do not need them to be the same on the bottom for multiplying and dividing. They don't have to be the same. If you are adding or subtracting, they would have to be the same because they will only work if they've merged their families together. But for multiplying and dividing, not the case. So we're going to multiply, and then the last thing you do is, does it simplify? It doesn't in this case, because that doesn't divide by 3 or 5, and that doesn't divide by 2 or 4 or 7. So therefore, that is the final answer. Give it a tick and a smiley face. Always like to give myself a smiley face. Well, what if it did simplify then, sir? Well, okay. Calm down. 2/5 multiplied by 3/8 is 6/40. But that one does, because we've got 2 times 3 is 6, 5 times 8 is 40. Therefore, that does simplify, so we can then write down 3/20. Simplifying, you just look for what number do they both divide by. This one divides by 2, and this one divides by 2. So we can even, to help us show where we've done it, we can put a little arrow to show why it simplifies. And there's your final answer. So again, shouldn't use red, but I don't care. It's my channel. I use whatever colour I want. And then we have that's all we've done. We've multiplied and simplified. What? But surely, no more complicated than that. Well, I might show you one more thing in a second that makes it a little bit, not more complicated, but actually easier. But for now, that should enable you, if you've all got your pen and paper, to try these questions. If you're doing this video later, feel free to stop the video here and have a go at these questions. Before we find out any answers, pause the video and have a try. If you're doing this live, well, you've got less time than everyone else, because I don't want to sit, I'll get bored easily. So I'm going to be sitting here just talking to you and putting you off. There are 8 questions, you see, and I want you to have a good go at them. But I've got all the answers ready. You do as many as you can in the time when I'm talking at you. And while you're doing that, I'm going to see if anyone's got any questions. Oh, sorry, Advika, I do apologise. I knew I should have done it. Anne, nice to meet you, Anne. I'll have to try and remember who is on everyone's accounts, you see. It's very difficult. It's nice to see you, Annabelle, your first time. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you learned something. If you do enjoy this, you can always go back and watch some of the other videos to see if they've been any use to you. Sue and Betty are doing really well in Love and Maths. Well, in fact, it must be them who are doing all the hard work. I'm just talking randomly at people. Hello, Remy. Nice to see you. And then let's see how we get on. Willow, how are we getting on? This will get harder. Those people are thinking this is the easiest question in the world. Okay, I will make sure this gets harder because I'm trying to make sure you have to remember this is year 5 up to year 9. So we've got all the different ranges of people here. So we're trying to make sure that everyone can do it. If you're bored, then obviously not now because it's live, so you can't fast forward in live unless you know how to time travel, in which case do that. Time travel forwards to when I'm getting onto the harder stuff. But if not, then wait until after the video's been done, and then you can, if you're watching it later, you can watch later in and whiz forwards to where it gets tough. Now I've talked enough rubbish for you to have a go at some of these questions. Here we go. There we go. 2 times 3 is 6, and 5 times 4 is 20, and that simplifies. The third one simplifies as well. And here's your other ones. Well done if you did all 8. I would be very surprised. It's difficult to do that many. I put them all there so you all had some to do, and to show you the answer. I was only going to do 4, and then for some reason I decided to do 8 because I was being greedy with numbers. Now, do you notice that 4 of these need simplifying? Well, not for much longer, because I'm going to make sure you do not need to do simplifying. Okay, Kai's working really hard as well. Nice to see you, Kai. Right, so how can I make it so you don't... How can I make it so you don't need to do simplifying? I think we're going to need to go back, way back, over to my whiteboard. And on my whiteboard, we've still got that original question from before. And that's quite useful, because I'm going to rewind by undoing this, undoing that, undoing that, undoing that. I'm undoing everything, because I want to show you how we can not need to do any cancelling, any simplifying. And it's done like this. We take hold of a different colour. You can use the same colour when you're writing a pen. I like to use different colours to make it clear what I'm doing. And you check the diagonals to see if they have any common denominators. Numbers in the same times table. 3 and 5 aren't in the same times table. But 2 and 8 are in the 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8. Therefore, we can cross that out and cross that out, giving us 1 and giving us 4. Because they both are in the 2 times table. So we say how many 2s there are. 1 times 2 and 4 times 2. We're going to do another one with 3s in a second. Now we just do 1 times 3 is 3. 5 times 4 is 20. It goes straight to the answer. Double happy. Huge smile. Let's see what I did say. We'll do one with 3 so you can see it's not just 2s. What about if I do 6/11 times by 33 over 33 over 42. Checking our diagonals here, we can do 6 and 42 are both in the 6 times table. 1 times 6 and 7 times 6. But also 11 and 33 are in the 11 times table. 1 times 11 and 3 times 11. I said we'd do one with 3s. So we've divided by that. So we've got all these numbers crossed out. We just times the new little numbers together. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 7 is 7. We do not need to do any cancelling. If we hadn't cancelled, we would have had to do 6 lots of 33 and divide it by 11 lots of 42, which to me is a lot of hard work. Never fear. If you need, instead of doing all that, just cancel. We only need to get to 3/7. Cancelling helps us to go straight to the answer. And I'm sure there's some year 8s and 9s out there who don't fully understand cancelling or didn't fully understand cancelling, and this has been helpful too. But I'm sure that there are others who are like, yeah, I knew that. Fair enough. I'm not going to argue with you. I will push you onto something else. So the next thing we have to do is talk about division. And in order to do so, we need to come back to me. Here we go. Now, you may remember when I was teaching you about adding and taking away, I talked about the families that used to war in the ancient medieval times of the families of fractions that used to exist. They used to fall out, and I told you about 2 that fell in love, and they could only get together, and because they wanted to add to each other, and they could only get together if their families joined and the denominators became the same. But then, a few years later, in that same garden, and I know about it because I used to be a gardener in fraction land, 2 more fractions met from different families. And they thought, oh, don't worry, we'll be able to get together because now we've discovered that this whole joining the family allows us to get together, it'll be fine. So they went and spoke to their families, and the first fraction spoke to the second fraction and said, yeah, I'd like to get together with the other fraction, and the family went, no, they're not good enough for us. Their denominator, we don't even like their denominators. Our denominators is much better than theirs. We're better than them. He was like, but Mum, like, no, I'm not having it. And then she went and spoke to her father and said, Father, I've fallen in for this boy, and he's so wonderful. I don't think he's a boy. He's another fraction. Could be a girl. Could be a boy. I can't remember. Daddy, please, you've got to tell me. How can we be together? And he was furious. He said, you're never going to marry into that family. You're never going to be with anyone in that family. They're not good enough for us. They've got a horrendous denominator and we don't like them. You are forbidden from seeing him again. And so, in secret, they carried on meeting in the garden. And they walked into the garden and they were either end of the garden, and one moved closer to the other, and the other moved closer to the other. And Other one moved closer to the other, and the first one could see that they'd been crying, and they felt sad too, and they're like, they're trying to divide us. They're trying to divide our love. They're trying to keep us apart. But one fraction came closer, and then the other fraction came closer, and they looked into each other's eyes, and the first fraction looked into the other fraction's eyes, and they looked at each, and then they kissed. And they fell head over heels in love. Because the one thing you need to know about division is when you try and divide fractions, they will kiss and fall head over heels in love. What on earth is Mr. Harris talking about? Has he finally lost it? Has he finally gone mad? Actually, no. He hasn't finally gone mad. He's going to explain everything. When we divide fractions, we have two fractions and we try to divide them. So here they are. 2/3, and 2/3 is trying to meet with 1/5. When we try and divide them, they will fall head over heels in love. They will kiss and fall head over heels in love. The first one doesn't change. The first fraction's like, yeah, I'm okay. If they both fell head over heels, like they'd both be standing on their heads, and it would just be awkward. But the first one kisses the second one, and they fall head over heels in love. Some people I've seen in the chat calling this kiss and flip. So what we've got is they kiss and fall head over heels in love. Now, I know I'm telling a silly story to help you understand this. The reason for the silly story is to help you remember it. That when you try to divide, you change it to a times, kiss, and flip the second fraction upside down. And we've already talked about how we times. We've got 10 over 3, and that simplifies down to 3 and 1/3. Okay, so when we try and divide, we're going to flip the second fraction. Let's do another one. We've got, what happens when we're trying to divide? 7/8 is being divided by 3/4. Well, they kiss, and the second fraction falls head over heels. So we end up with 7/8 stays the same. Kiss falls head over heels. Then we cancel. They both divide by 4. So 7 times 1 is 7. 2 times 3 is 6. And we end up with 7/6, or 1 and 1/6. So all of that silliness, all my stupidity, was just designed to try and give you a memorable thing that will help you to remember it. I hope this has worked. Okay, I hope some of you are remembering this and understanding what I'm explaining. I'm sorry if you don't like the silly stories, but I find telling silly stories helps people to remember things. This is how we change it to a kiss and change it a second fraction upside down. If we go back here, you can see here's some divisions I prepared earlier. We're going to do the first one together. We've got it as 2/5. We change the second fraction upside down, times it, and then there's your solution. I've moved myself out of the way. It may not have worked in time. So let's look at the second one, and then you've got 3 for you to do yourself. We're going to change it to a kiss, flip the second fraction upside down. Kiss, flip the second fraction upside down. That makes it 15 over 14, which makes it 1 and 1/14. Can you do the other 3 now, while I just check and see if anyone's stuck in the chat or bothered by me? If you are enjoying the way I'm teaching, then that's brilliant. If you're not, I can only ask for feedback. Let me know how you would have done it, how you'd improve it. I can see Chris Eaton. I've forgotten the name. Was it Annie? I can't remember. Try and find out. It was a little while back, wasn't it? It was Anne. I was right. Okay. So, how do you need help, Annabelle? Is there anything you want me to help with? So, for this question, write down 3/4 divide by 1/8. You're going to write it out again, but you're going to, this time, instead of writing a divide, you're going to change it to a times. Then you're going to flip over the 1/8 to make it 8/1. So let's show you on the screen. We've got this. Change it upside down. Change it to a times. Now we're going to do the top numbers multiplied together and the bottom numbers divided together. And 24 divided by 4 is just 6. Hopefully that's helped you, Annabelle. I need you to ask questions. Help is always going to be that hand for you from me or other people in the chat. Jennifer Keep, what don't you understand? So we're going to look at the next one. Hopefully this will make sense. If not, you can always rewind at any point and see what went on. So division changes to a multiplication if you flip the second one over. So let's do this again. Flip the second fraction upside down. Becomes 3/1 and it changes to a times. Then that equals 15/6. So it's 2.5. Okay. So hopefully this video is the whole point. It's okay to be confused after you've only seen 3 or 4. You have to practice them. It's absolutely fine to be stuck. What you have got to do is just keep trying. And here's the last one. Hopefully people had a go at it. Okay, Remy, I'm trying to give shout outs to as many people as I can, but I'm not doing requests. I'm just trying to say hello to people. Okay. So this is the challenge for today. Your challenge for is to complete the fractions worksheet. So there's 3 different levels. Try the level you're comfortable. You might want to just start at the first level and you might not want to carry on. Absolutely, Annabelle. Change the times and flip. What you want to do is then try the next level. Now, some people, I haven't always put answers up because what you can do is you can use a calculator. What do you mean? Well, this is the calculator I use. And if I bring it up, I'm hoping if you click on the fraction button just there. If I click on the fraction button, I'm in the way. Always in the way. If you click on the fraction button, it brings up a fraction. And then you can type in the fraction you want. So if we're checking, for example, 2/3 divided by fraction button again, 5/7, this will equal 14/15 as my fully simplified answer. So that is how you can make sure that you've got the correct answers. Okay, so you can use that to check your answers at the end and see whether you got them right. I'd love to see some photos of stuff that you've done, but let me know where you're stuck. You can always post in the comments to this video. If you're doing this video afterwards, you can post questions in the comments and I will happily help. Harriet, year 5 and she's first time. Well done. Lovely to see people trying. Everyone is having a go. I'm really pleased with that. I do apologise if anyone said anything inappropriate in the chat. I do try and keep up with it and people are being banned afterwards. It's still early in the channel, so unfortunately we do attract a few silly people, but I do try and make sure that they are banned from ever commenting again. So please do make sure that I've got a few people like Amber who can delete comments and things as well. So I'll try and pay attention and add a few more people who have the power to kick people out if they are saying anything silly. So that means that's it. Hopefully we've learned some things about fractions. Now, if there's anything you want to do, now I did mention about mixed fractions, so it's worth me quickly going over to here and doing one question. What if it was mixed fraction, Mr. Harris? Well, I should have explained this, shouldn't I? What if it was 3 2/3 times 4 1/4? Well, the first thing you have to do is turn these into top-heavy fractions. You can't split it like we did with adding and taking away. So we need to do top-heavy fractions. So 3 2/3 is 3 whole ones. So when you divide them into thirds, it's going to give me 9 of them. So it's 9/3 because 9 divided by 3 is 3. So we've got 9/3 plus 2 more is 11/3. Four whole cakes, or 4 whole ones, if we divide it into quarters, is 16 plus the little one is 17. If you want a quick way of doing that, just multiply that number, the big number, by the denominator, and then add the little number on the top. Now we've learnt about multiplying, so it's 11 times 17 is 170 plus another 17 is 187, all over 12. Now if you were watching my division lesson earlier, you'll know that you can divide by 12 by doing the 12 times table into here. That doesn't go. That goes once, giving 67, and that goes 5 times, leaving remainder 7. So we would write it as 15 and 7/12, the remainder over 12. Hopefully that explains how you can do mixed fractions as well. Similarly, if you were doing divide, you turn it into top heavy, then you do the division. Hopefully that's been useful. I'm going to go back to my main screen. If you've got any questions, please ask them in the chat. If not, ask them in the comments below if you're watching this video later. Go to the Facebook group, send me emails. I'm trying to help you all learn. I hope at least 95% of you have enjoyed this lesson. I've been Mr. Harris, and I'm going to take my craziness elsewhere.